inside the floor. Turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
Back on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel here, talking a little NBA action early on a Thursday morning because we just got a ton of sports today, a ton of shows. So we figured let's talk a little early NBA hoops. It's a two-gamer, so we get another two-game slate on the docket for Thursday, but probably a good idea with football going on. But do you see two good games? I can't wait to talk about it, and we can talk a little about last night's slate. But how you doing? You feeling good with NBA back?
Yeah, good night yesterday. Cashed 5 of 6 teams. Had the Castle Wembanyama combination in the cores. They both came through. Wembanyama, man, what a game from him. He was ridiculous. You got me on the Kalkbrenner play, Big T, with the Edgecombe Sixers rookie, who was just incredible too. We can talk about him. So yeah, good night. I did have that Nets guy off the bench didn't come through, the 3K guy. Yeah. He let me down, but a good night. Last night, a lot of big winners in the Discord for sure. A lot of screenshots coming in. So you love to see that. Good kickoff to the NBA season. And like you said, fun slate tonight and good time of year, man. Start of NBA. We've got a football game tonight. World Series starts tomorrow. Great time to join the RPS crew. So excited for it all.
Yeah, 100%. And if you want to get in Run Pure Premium, you can get all sports. Like DC said, so many sports going on. College football, MMA. I mean, there's just so many. College basketball is going to be starting up soon. So this is the time. This is the time where sports just keeps on rolling through. And we got you covered with all the sports. Pretty much if DraftKings covers it, we got content for it for the most part. So check us out. Run Pure Premium gets you all sports, one price, plus SaberSim, best opto in the business if you are looking for an opto. But yeah, you brought up a few things I definitely wanted to touch on. I mean, VJ Edgecombe, I put it in the Discord. We were talking early yesterday, and I was like, this is a matchup he should smash against the Celtics team that is, not as good as they've been in past years. And on top of it, they stink at rebounding. He's super athletic. He's going to get a ton of opportunity to kind of get open looks. And that's what you saw in the game. Like you saw his athleticism just kind of shine at times off the dribble. You've seen him, his shot, he can hit a wide open jumper, and he hit a few of them where the Celtics kind of would just leave him. And I think teams are going to make him shoot the ball and hit those shots. And he wasn't shy, DC. He was definitely not shy. And I love that in a rookie. You come in, you got Tyrese Maxey with you, you got some of these other like solid Joel Embiid. That was one play I was definitely wrong on. He's dust. Like his knees are gone, like completely gone. That's one I definitely have taken L on, but I couldn't believe it just watching him. They were way worse with him on the floor than with him out. I was watching the game with my brother and a couple of buddies, and I said in the third quarter, right when they take him out, we're live betting the Sixers because they are going to go on a run when Embiid comes out. They did the same thing in the first half, in the first quarter. Embiid on the floor, they were terrible. Embiid comes off the floor, they make a run. And then we saw, obviously, them win the game. I think they were like plus 450 or something like that at one point in the third quarter. And I was like, yep, this is the time. This is the time where we bet it. So we bet it, made a little coin betting against the Celtics, which, obviously a bunch of people from, Massachusetts, Celtics fans, but we take the money, so it's okay. It's like if the Celtics win DC, they'd be happy, and if we lose, at least we won money. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, I mean the game's going to turn out how it's going to turn out regardless. So you see an edge there with the live betting, and you take your coin. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the thing with NBA too. It's the live betting opportunities are insane. If you watch the Kings game, that was a tale of two halves. The Kings couldn't miss in the first half, and they were up like 19 at halftime or whatever it was. And then in the third quarter, they just, I don't know, it was like someone took the batteries out of all the players and they just died for a quarter and stopped, scoring and stuff. And the Suns kind of picked it up. And the Suns are like one of the worst teams in basketball. So like, losing to them is tough, but yeah, it's just like they came back, they end up winning and stuff. And there's massive opportunities if you like watch the game and you see, like one team's just getting open looks but can't hit them, and the other team is just making every tough shot they take. That does flip during a game at some point. So there's opportunities if you're just sitting there watching these games. Anyone else stick out to you? Obviously, you talked about Edgecombe. I mean, you brought up Wemby. He was someone, I think one of the guys, Cody in chat, was talking about how he was like posting up on the wing, and like he took one step forward, DC, and he was at the rim. Just one step.
I mean, he can just do it all, right? If you watch the game, he's involved in every possession, right? He's not like sometimes you see big men like get phased out a little bit, right? They obviously, a guy like Joker's a exception, but man, I mean, Wemby still just 21. The physical tools are unlike anything we've ever seen. You saw him do step back threes. Obviously, the defensive capabilities are off the charts. And yeah, he was, a guy I had him on most of my teams. Just a guy going to continue to play because I do think his ceiling, both long term and just fantasy wise, game to game, is higher than anybody. I mean, you can't stop him from shooting, and then he can just do it all. He has no weaknesses. So, obviously, health concerns aside, but for DFS purposes, you're going to see a lot of 70+ games from Wembanyama. He would be my pick for, the highest percentage of games, of slate breaking games, 70+ fantasy performances. So wasn't the best matchup on paper for him, but we talked about it on the slate. I think I was higher on him than you were, but he might be the one guy in the NBA who is truly matchup proof just due to his size and skill. So definitely someone.
Yeah, he's like a guy. He's pretty much like matchup proof. And I said like this is probably like one of the tougher matchups for him with all the size Dallas has, but he's just a guy that's matchup proof. And he's also a cheat code on like certain sites where stocks are just so huge. So like, those sites, it's just tough not to play him on a night in, night out. But in general, you're right. He's just a guy with so much upside that it's tough, even in tough matchups, to not click some Wemby. And he just smashed. Another thing that was funny is like, I thought his handles were like way more improved, like way smoother with the ball. At least that's how it looked to me. It looked like the handles were so much better in this game. And his only downside is strength, and he's only going to get stronger. He's like you said, he's like 21, 22. He's only going to get stronger. We all remember Giannis when he came into the league and he was skinny, and now look at Giannis, like he's strong. Eventually Wemby's going to get to a point where that weakness is almost gone, and then there's just no weaknesses. And when there's no weaknesses, that he's just going to be absolutely unstoppable. So yeah, he was fun. Cooper Flagg had an up and down start to the year. I think he'll be fine. He's not going to come into the league, I don't think, and just like crush immediately. And Dallas doesn't need him to either. Dallas has a ton of good players. So like, I think people need to like temper their expectations with him, but I think he'll be fine.
He was really passive shooting the ball, especially in the first half, passed up some open threes. I'm guessing that'll be something that changes really soon. I think he'll be more aggressive going forward, was trying to get his teammates involved, obviously. Didn't have any assists, which was kind of strange starting at point guard, but we will see overreactions, right? We see it, obviously, NFL week 1 to week 2 is kind of the hallmark for the overreaction season, but we'll see it in the NBA too, where people assume whatever happened in the first game is going to go, that's how it's going to go in the second game. We'll see a lot of regression, both positive and negative. Edgecombe's not going to put up 45 fantasy points every time he plays, and guys like Flagg will bounce back and have big games. So, just fun time of year to, not take one game as gospel and assume that's going to happen every single game out there.
Yeah, I will just say if Joel Embiid keeps playing like that, the guy who's going to benefit the most besides VJ is, obviously Tyrese. And Tyrese looked another guy who he looked a lot stronger to me. And he was always confident. So there was never any confident. The skills were always there pretty much from the get-go. The confidence was always there, but he looked stronger and more all around put together. And so I think he's just the guy. I think they just need to, if Embiid's knees are just shot, then just sit him, honestly. Just sit him. If he can get fully healthy, he can't. I don't think he can, DC. I think what you see is he wasn't jumping at all. I think he jumped one time the entire 20 minutes he was on the floor or whatever, one time in the game.
And I don't know if it's going to get better for him. I mean, he had the whole offseason to rest, obviously, and now in the grind of the NBA season, we'll obviously see Embiid sit out, I don't know, at least half the games, even if he's quote-unquote healthy. And
if he looks like that, DC, playing, he's going to be sitting out a lot of games. He's going to miss 50 games.
For sure.
I don't see how he doesn't play. I don't see how he plays half the games, honestly.
Yeah, he did not look good. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Anything else from that slate? I'm trying to think about, we talked about the Kings a little. Thank God. Yeah, thank God, Kevin. We got it all out. Hurt my bank account, but we got it all out. So we'll get it out of our system.
Took one night for you to jump ship on Embiid, but rightfully so, I think.
Yeah. Well, luckily I didn't draft any of them in season long or anything, because he's just a terrible pick because he's going to miss games. That. I was just I can get him while he's on the floor and playing the first night and then go from there. But yeah, Embiid gambling too. Who fucking knows? That's the other thing that's just crazy is obviously the news with all this stuff. And, that there's going to be more players. I'm not saying it's Embiid, but it would actually be funny if after that game Embiid got swept up, DC. I'd be yeah, that makes sense. They knew he wasn't going to play. They knew he was only playing 15 minutes or something like that. But yeah, what are you going to do? Clippers. Yeah, that was another one. Clippers got absolutely smoked. I mean, it was 93 to 58 at one point, DC, in Utah versus Utah. And I mean, I don't think Utah is going to be that good, but man, they absolutely pounded on the Clippers, who I think a lot of people coming into the year thought the Clippers were going to be a solid team with all these vets around them. And they obviously got Ty Lue.
Yeah. It's a young man's game. That Clippers roster. I think they're, it's a bunch of guys way on the downside of their careers. I'm sure they'll have some nights where they, get to the fountain of youth and look better. But in general, I don't like the construction of what they have.
No, and I'm sure getting up to play a regular season game in Utah for all those vets, probably not something they were that interested in or cared about, honestly. They just wanted to get the hell out of there, DC. So that's another thing to kind of throw out there with all those vets, having a team with all those vets like that. It's oh, great, we got to go to Utah for our regular season opener. Can't wait for that one.
They've got the Kawhi Leonard contract thing hanging over their head. Not a good start for the Clippers for sure.
Yeah, definitely not a good start for the Clippers. Oh, another guy who crushed, who I think we're both high on coming into the year, was Brandon Miller. Fantasy wise, you'll look at it and you'll be oh, he was just fine fantasy. But if you watch the game, he was good, man. And he could have been better. The Hornets played well as a team. So like they had a bunch of guys playing pretty well, in my opinion. But if they needed Brandon Miller to do more, or if like guys go down and he has to do more, he's going to smash on some of these slates.
Yeah.
He's a guy definitely to keep in mind because LaMelo's glass, like I keep saying. And, he's someone, if you take like one good player out of that team and you make him do a little more, he's going to have big nights.
Yep. We talked about it yesterday. There's certain guys who are capable of a lot more than they show on the fantasy box score. Miller, I would put in that bucket of someone to pay attention to when he's in a good spot or when people are out. I do think he's capable for sure of 50+ fantasy point performances.
Yep. That's about it here. Let's get into this slate, DC, because, for a 2-game slate, and we've already had a 2-game slate, I do like this slate. I wonder why, though, we didn't get OKC versus the Pacers on opening night. Doesn't really make sense. I don't know why. Why wouldn't you just run that opening night? I don't get that. OKC played opening night against the Rockets, and that was a double OT game. They ended up winning the game. SGA, let's be honest, he kind of took the first half off. If you watch that game, he wasn't very aggressive in the first half. He didn't really look to be the killer scorer that he normally is. And then in the second half, all of a sudden, he was like, all right, here I come. I'm going to start attacking. And he started doing SGA things, getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls, getting to his mid-range, spots, and really just, showing that, the MVP in him. It took him a second. I don't know what it was. I don't know if he was deferring a little bit, trying to get, Chet, who was hot to start, and some of these other guys maybe more involved. Maybe that could have been at DC. Maybe he was trying to get some of these other guys more involved. But man, it was that's another spot where it was like, it looked like a completely different, first half to second half. And OKC goes, no matter what they want to say, like there's no Jalen Williams right now. OKC goes with SGA. You know what I mean? Like, especially when Jalen Williams is out.
Yeah. I assume they wanted Durant back in OKC for the opening night with the Rockets is why they went with that game.
You're right. Probably. That's probably why they did. Yeah.
Which makes sense. There are some clips of Durant booing the OKC crowd who was obviously booing him in more. I love Kevin Durant.
That is good.
He's like a true man of the people, right? Like trolling people on Twitter. He's got his burners. I think it's pretty funny. But I assume that's why they went with that game. But yeah, OKC, Indiana tonight. And yeah, transitioning to DFS, I'm pretty sure we're going to see SGA come out aggressive in this game, partly because they need him more. Not an ideal start for OKC and the Rockets, having to play a double overtime game deep into the minutes for some of their players to start the season. And I bet we'll see SGA put the team on his back early in this one. So I do think he is one of the top spend-ups for sure on this 2-game slate.
Yeah, we got some pretty good spend-ups on this slate. So, we'll get to the top 2 guys. SGA said he needed to shake off some rust. Yeah, I'm sure there was some rust. I just meant, like, in my opinion, watching him, it didn't even look like he was trying in the first half to get to the foul line, which we know that's what he wants to do. But they were also trying to make it a point to, when he passed the ball, not let him get the ball back. And, they were really trying to stop that. So there might have been a little of that also. And like I said, he knew it was the first half. He knows, like, the second half, that's mine. That's when I'm going to, take over if I need to. And they needed him to. And they might need him to again here. They do have 2 guys questionable, DC. Cason Wallace and I think Lou Dort are both questionable for this game. And on the surface, you might that's not like huge deal. But OKC's already down a few guys. They're down Jalen Williams, their second best player. Alex Caruso is going to be out for this game. Alex Caruso played a pretty key role in that double overtime game, where they had him guarding, at times they had him guarding Kevin Durant. He'd be switched on to like Şengün. So Alex Caruso is someone they trust a lot out there in big moments and big spots, and especially defensively. And so is Cason Wallace and Lou Dort. I mean, you can make the case that like those three, with no Jalen Williams, you can make the case like those three guys, SGA, like that's a lot of good defenders that they could potentially be without. I mean, Jalen Williams is a great defender. SGA is an awesome defender for a superstar. Like SGA is a very good, very elite defender. But like no Caruso. If they lose Cason Wallace or Lou Dort, which maybe one of those guys sits out, I feel like one plays, one might sit DC after the double OT game. But that'd be a big loss for them.
Yeah. And I mean, OKC did ultimately win the game. Obviously, coming off the championship last year, they've got, a lot bigger aspirations than game 2 in the NBA season here. Wallace played 42 minutes in that double overtime game. Now he's got, what is it, an ankle, I think, with Cason Wallace, knee. 42 minutes and you've got soreness. I mean, we know how often NBA guys sit out. I kind of expect Wallace to sit. We'll see with Lou Dort, but missing Caruso, who's a glue guy for them, it's going to open, and then obviously Jalen Williams, going to open up some minutes on the wing for these OKC guys. And thankfully, this is the first game of the night, so we will obviously get that information prior to lock. But yeah, I like Indiana to win this game with the guys that OKC is missing on the road after the double overtime game. They're going to have some heavy legs. I think that's going to be true for a lot of players after the first game of the season, but especially true for OKC. Indiana, of course, missing some important players too. Halliburton, McConnell, both out, but I think Indiana comes out with maybe more energy with this one. So I kind of like Indiana side of this one. And then with the guys missing for OKC, I think SGA on the other side, keeping it close. I think it's a pretty fun build to kick off the slate.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the first game, so that's why I was like, it was easier to do like an earlier show anyways, because like we're gonna get this news, so we'll be able to update in the Run Pure Sports Discord, the core plays, the content, all that stuff. So if you aren't a member, make sure you guys check it out. But it makes it easier when you've got like the first game is where most of the injury news is gonna lie, and you never know with NBA stuff can pop up, sure, 30 minutes before lock, and you're like, oh shit. For the late game, I got to scramble now. But for the most part, it looks like this is the key to the slate, is getting this news. And like you said, there's spot on the wing that already kind of opened up. And if you just take one of Lou Dort or Cason Wallace out, now there's a lot of minutes that just opened up here for potential. Multiple players could get potential big bumps to where you'll want them in fantasy. And if you just click OKC for a second here. Let's run through their team real quick, DC. So right now, they started the big lineup, obviously, last game. And then in the second half, they went to Caruso starting, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Now, they could do that again here. I don't think they need to play double big, but if these injuries hold up, DC, I think they will, because they're already down so many guys, and Caruso's the guy they really like to start when they go to the smaller lineup starting, I feel like, or one of the other guys that are out. Obviously, there's no Jalen Williams, so like it would have been Cason Wallace would have been the other guy. They like to start one of like Cason Wallace or Caruso when they're fully healthy if they go small. So if both those guys are out, that makes a big deal. That means we might see even more double big, just because I do think if one of these guys are out, Aaron Wiggins becomes an amazing play. The Caruso news kind of already in my mind opens up Aaron Wiggins for more playing time. And again, if you add in one other wing, it opens up Aaron Wiggins, AJ Mitchell. Mitchell looked awesome in the first game. And I did notice they played him a little, I'm pretty sure, with SGA on the floor, which is good. I like that. And I think you see more of that. And if you see more of that, that means he's going to play, I think, a good amount, like a lot.
Yeah, I posted in Discord yesterday the preseason fantasy points per minute and usage Obviously, mentioned not going to take that at face value, but
Right.
Ajay Mitchell was interesting because he was actually fourth in the entire NBA in the preseason in terms of fantasy points per minute. Probably should have looked that up before that two gamer on Tuesday. But I mean, look at this. I got it up on SaberSim. I mean, look at the guards available for OKC in this game.
And
They
two
don't
of them
have.
are questionable.
That's what I'm saying. So we're already missing Caruso. Obviously Wiggins can play some guard, but I mean, he's the only available listed small forward. If one of, or even, both of Wallace and Dortmund's, I think you almost have to play Ajay Mitchell. I think he's kind of locked into big minutes. Wiggins, I think, would become locked into big minutes. And then SGA, I think, like we said, a good chance to carry this team. So depending on the injury news with Wallace and Dort, I think you're going to want some of these wings and perhaps SGA too for OKC. So yeah, really, really good game fantasy wise, I think, to kick it off.
And even if they both somehow played DC, I still think the guys you're talking
Yes.
about, Mitchell, Wiggins, I still
Agreed.
think they're very good plays on this slate. They just don't become, I don't think, as locky. They still become very good plays. I might it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 here. But in my mind, I feel like just with the Caruso news alone and the fact that Isaiah Joe's still out, Kenrich Williams, Topic, these are guys that would play in these scenarios, right, DC? Because OKC does like to throw out a decent amount of bodies. Those are guys that would play with all these other guys out that are also out too. So my feeling is that probably one sits at most in this scenario. I think they need one of them to play. And let's be honest, it's soreness. So it's probably just like, all right, guys, let's see at shoot around who's feeling good, who's feeling, not so good. And then we'll make the choice on which one of you is going to play or sit.
For sure on the backcourt with OKC. And then the front court, I think Holmgren and Hartenstein are pretty interesting because they both had foul trouble. They both fouled out of that game. So they didn't play the big minutes that some of the OKC guys did too. I think, assuming those guys, assuming a close game and those guys are out of foul trouble today, maybe they rely a little bit more on Holmgren and Hartenstein, who didn't play the huge minutes that some of their other wing players did.
Yeah, and brutal matchup too, right? They had to go with, that team, the Rockets, Şengün, Steven Adams, who's just a bully on the offensive glass and can draw rebound, like fouls through like offensive rebounding. You know what I mean? It's a brutal matchup for guys like Chet, and Hart from that standpoint, because it's just tough. And then they got like KD, who's still like 6'10", 6'11".
Capella's a good defender down low, big body. So, yeah.
Capella's another guy. Now they go from that matchup though to a matchup against the Pacers, where these are their centers, DC, and we go through it, and it's like they obviously lost Miles Turner, but you look at who they have: Isaiah Jackson, who is athletic as hell. He's decent when he gets around the rim, but and he's improving too. I think he improved in the offseason, like his offensive game, but he's not someone to fear offensively. Like he's not someone I'm like, oh shit, they give him the ball and like the Chat is going to be in trouble, or Hartenstein is going to be in trouble. When Şengün gets the ball, every time I was like, shit, they're going to draw a foul. If Steven Adams gets a rebound, I'm like, shit, they're going to hold them or nail them. And it's just like, that's not Isaiah Jackson at all. He's a very, kind of, not an offensive threat is kind of what I like to say. So that's good, in my opinion, for guys like Hartenstein and Chet, who were in some foul trouble, like you said, at some points in that game. And then they got Pascal Siakam, who, is a very good player, can post up, but is finesse at times, likes to shoot the fadeaway mid-range jumpers and stuff at times. So when he attacks, though, DC, and is aggressive, he's someone you can worry about. But Chet's so long. I don't know if the matchups I think he'll be okay. So that's one thing that I think is good for the bigs after going through the Houston team. It's just a different team in general too. So let's look at it though. Outside of the bigs here, DC, you said that and the Pacers are a team coming into the year I wanted to be heavy on because of all these guys that are already down. No TJ McConnell, Halliburton's out. The clear need again is the guards. I mean, they lose two of their best guards before the season, obviously, Halliburton last season. And now they have Andrew Nembhard, who I think is a very good player. He's going to see a ton of, usage bump with these guys off the floor. Benedict Matherin's going to play with the ball in his hands a decent amount because they really don't have like guards coming off the bench that are going to take the ball out. Like Ben Shepherd's he's a stand in the corner or stand at the wing type of player. He's not an on-ball guy. He's not a guy that's going to take the ball and run the offense here. So I think like between Nembhard, Mathurin, Siakam, those are the guys that are going to initiate the offense. It's pretty clear. And then you've got Aaron Nesmith, who looked amazing at the end of the year and in the playoffs. And I think it's another guy who could take a leap here. So a lot of good plays in this first game of the slate. How do you go about like the top plays though with like Mathurin, Nembhard, Siakam?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, Indiana missing both Halliburton, who obviously is the as much as anybody, like the true engine of the Pacers team. We'll see what their kind of pace looks like without Halliburton, but you can run the numbers. You can take Siakam, McConnell and Halliburton off the court and kind of see what the Pacers looked like last season without playing with those two guys. And no surprise, one thing I noticed, big bumps for Siakam, who, if you remember, JSU, it's a long time ago now, but there was a time when Siakam was like the offensive initiator for Toronto, right? He was kind of the point forward. He can distribute. He's a good passer. He hasn't been asked to do it a ton in Indiana because they've got, maybe the best passer in the league in Halliburton. But I think in this game, without Halliburton, without McConnell, I think you'll see Siakam with the ball in his hands a lot more. He's a good scorer, can pass, can run the offense. So I like Siakam. And then Nembhard's the other guy. I mean, we've seen this without Halliburton, without McConnell. Nembhard's got to do a ton. He had a 35% assist percentage, by far the highest on the team. Without those two guys, he's going to have to do a ton in this game. And the matchup gets a lot better too, obviously, if missing Wallace, Dort, Caruso, a terrific defender. So, and Jalen Williams, a terrific defender. So you'll see OKC's defense not quite as good. They're also perhaps tired legs for some of these guys. So I think a really good opportunity for Nembhard and Siakam, the two guys I'm looking at. I do think you'll see Mathurin and Nesmith, like you mentioned, be more involved in the offense. But for me, it's the two guys at the top here, the two highest projected guys per Saber for Pacers. Nembhard and Siakam, I think, are going to be the focal points of the offense for Indiana, and two guys that I like a ton here. I think we'll see big minutes, big usage, and just tons of opportunity for those guys, passing, scoring, and otherwise. So I like those two guys for sure. I do like them over Mathurin and Nesmith, who I think are the third and fourth options here on Indiana. But yeah, give me Siakam, Nembhard, SGA on the other side. I like the OKC bigs. And then obviously depending on the OKC news with Dort and Wallace, I think you could have a nice, perhaps 5 or 6 man stack with Indiana, OKC here. And then I think that'll leave enough salary probably to get to Jokic on the other side in the late game. So looks like perhaps a pretty straightforward build, obviously, partly depending on the OKC injuries.
Yeah, I feel like too, no Alex Caruso probably helps someone like Siakam, as crazy as that is to say, because he'd get switched onto him a decent amount. But I do like the fact that all these guards should get a bump, and the fact that they could be down I mean, let's be honest. Case and Wallace, I know everyone wants to talk about Lou Dort and his defense and stuff, and he's great. He's great fighting over screens. He's physical, gets into the chest. He's a tough defender. But Case and Wallace was their best defender. Like last game, he was their best defender. He made so many big plays for them. So if they lose one of these guys, that just to me bumps the next tier, the Nemhard, Mather, and Neesmith. I'll probably like them a tiny bit less if both those guys are in, as opposed to one of them being out. But I just think there's so much opportunity from a scoring in their role bumping, whereas like Siakam, to me, we know his role. Yeah, he's going to play with the ball in his hands some. He played with the ball in his hands some, though, before. Like, it wasn't as much with Halliburton and TJ. It's going to grow a little. But I think at these price tags, like Benny Mathurin has the upside to just destroy. Like he has that. He might not have as good of a floor as Siakam, but same thing with like Nemhard. Like I think Nemhard has a better floor, but he has massive upside as well. Aaron Neesmith, we've seen it. Like it's definitely there, more of a scorer, but he can rebound when needed. And I wonder how much Indiana matches the size, or if Indiana tries to go smaller and run more. They had a lot of success with Obi Toppin in the playoff run. Obi Toppin was a guy that I thought was pretty key in a lot of big games for Indiana. He's someone I think is interesting. I kind of like him more. Isaiah Jackson probably starts, but I kind of like him more than Isaiah Jackson. And then like they got guys like Jarris Walker, who's probably not going to be owned, but I think he's a pretty good player at no ownership. What is he? 3K DC? Is he Stoneman 3K?
I think so. Yeah, I think
you're right. Stoneman 3K. He's good on defense. It wouldn't shock me if they went pretty small in this game, especially if OKC does this small line, if they just try and match it instead of playing the big. Jay Huff's going to get projected decent because he's cheap at 3,400. I don't mind him. I just wonder how much they're going to play with a center on the floor, DC. That's kind of my question with the Pacers this year, is like, how much do they roll out the big lineup with the center, or do they go more towards like Siakam, Obi Toppin 4-5, or Jarris Walker, Siakam 4-5 type lineups?
Well, I mean, it would make sense for for Indiana's game plan to get out and run, right, against a team that played double overtime. Right. You're fresh, you're at home. It's the first game of the season. And then like Hartenstein and Holmgren are good players, but they're not guys who can get up and down the court necessarily super well. So yeah, I think Indiana's game plan would make sense to play with pace, get out, try to tire out OKC, who's obviously potentially very shorthanded in this game. And yeah, that would make sense for Obi Toppin, who I do like playing. If you're fading the other OKC bigs, centers especially, Toppin would be the guy that could come in there and play big minutes and produce, right? He can shoot the three. We've seen big games from him in the past. Pretty good point per minute guy. I like the call for sure on Obi Toppin there.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, these guys OKC has as like backups. They're good players, but they're not at the level like defensively of the Dorts, Caruso's, Wallace, Jalen Williams, who already some are ruled out and some could potentially be ruled out. So it's different. And I agree with you. I think with all those guys potentially out, DC, we know the Pacers want to get out and push. It kind of makes sense for them to kind of go fully into the small ball, I think, in this spot with so many guys banged up for OKC. Anyone else that we missed from Indiana? Are you looking at any Johnny Furphy, Ben Shepherd type guys, Jay Huff? Are you looking at any of those cheapies to kind of fill out your lineups? Jarris Walker?
I doubt I'll get to those guys. If Wallace and Dort are in, it does, obviously reduce the appeal of some of the OKC wings, who we still like, Wiggins and Ajay. But if one of those guys misses, it will be hard for me to play the Indiana value over the OKC wing value. So we'll see, obviously, on the injuries. But I certainly lean, as of right now, assuming one of those Dort or Wallace misses, value plays, 2-game slate, you only need so many. I think they're okay plays, but yeah, I'll probably lean the OKC side for value plays for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like one of these cheap guys off the bat, like Rick Carlisle's just one of those coaches. Like, you don't take no shit. Like, don't be shocked if one of these cheap dudes in the 3Ks for the Pacers has like a big game, plays a bigger role than we all think. I think it could be Jarris Walker, but it wouldn't shock me, honestly, if it was any of these guys. If friggin' Jay Huff played more than Jackson or whatever, like nothing would he's going to do what he does, Rick Carlisle. And, I think it's kind of a tough thing to predict with him, but that's why, like you were saying, it's easier to just be like, all right, I like the top two guys. I know they're pretty safe for the most part, but even Siakam, like Rick Carlisle, like I watch games where Rick Carlisle would keep Siakam's ass on the bench if he thought Obi Toppin and whoever else at the 4 or 5 was giving him a better chance for whatever reason. So just because we think they're 100% safe, Rick Carlisle will do that shit from time to time, especially in the regular season. So don't be shocked by anything like that. If there's like a player we think is like locked into these minutes and then all of a sudden he plays like 7 minutes less and we're like, what the hell happened? So yeah, that'll happen from time to time. But all right, Chauncey Billups. Shout out to Chauncey Billups in chat right now. Keep up the great work, fellas. Love the show. You help me with lineups daily. Thankful to still have my phone while they processing me, but I'll be home sometime today. # Go Blazers. So
I read the whole message there without seeing the Chauncey Billups name and picture, and I was a little confused at first, but yeah, funny shit.
You gotta love it. Being there in chat as well. I'm worried about the Indiana game because what do they say? Heard there's an underground poker game happening near stadium. Well, now that's something we got to think about being there. Every time we think about the game, you got to think, where's the underground poker? Is it being played near? Jail Blazers are back, baby. That's right, AG. Jail Blazers are back.
What is Chauncey doing, man? He's made like $150 million in his career. I mean,
yeah. So he got wrapped up with the wrong people. Chauncey. Stay away from those
let's get Chauncey in the Corona Poker Club. We need some more
He probably would have loved the Corona poker. There was money flying in that poker club. There was money.
I miss those days. We need another pandemic, JC.
Didn't love the pandemic, but one thing that was fun was the Corona Poker Club. I'm not gonna lie, but there, DC, there was money just flying through that poker club. So that was a fun time.
Right into my pockets. Bring it back.
Yeah. No wonder. Yeah, you were like one of the people that really made out, I think, in the poker club. So good for you.
Don't investigate me, FBI.
Yeah. Stay away from DC. It's just fun. FBI. It's just fun. Okay. Yeah. Let's go to Denver and Golden State here. DC. I don't think this game is as good of a potential spot as game 1, but there's definitely plays. You know what I mean? And we got to talk from at FBI. Take a look at Siege. Leave CJ alone. Leave him alone. The Denver spot is interesting to me, DC, because they've got a fully, in my opinion, kind of new bench unit, really, with, the exception of maybe 1 or 2 players. And they added Cam Johnson over MPJ in the starting lineup, which I think is going to be a extremely good add. He's going to fit very well with Jokic and company. Two-way player. Like, he's a very good fit with this team. I do think it's going to be tough because they have so many like secondary guys after Jokic and Murray who it's going to be on a nightly basis, DC. I think that's going to be the hardest thing for Denver night in and night out to kind of predict. Yeah, we all like Jokic. We all like Murray. They're great players. 11-5 for Jokic, 7K for Murray. They're players we're going to want to roster. It's that like next tier, I think, is going to be really hard to kind of predict every night.
I agree with you. Nuggets, one of those teams, kind of like a little bit like the Bucks, where it's kind of Jokic or Giannis or bust on a lot of nights, especially when they're fully healthy. So I'll mostly be taking that approach to this game. There's just so many good plays, I think, in the OKC Indiana game that I'm mostly looking at Jokic from the Nuggets side. One guy I think could have not a bounce back season. He wasn't bad last year, but Aaron Gordon was playing through injury most of last year. You could kind of see it a little bit in his athleticism. He's a guy who will play through injury. The team needs him, but he looked healthy this preseason. So I'm expecting a big year from Aaron Gordon. I think he is the third most important piece on this Nuggets team. What is he, 5,700? He's a guy that I like quite a bit, Aaron Gordon. I also think he matches up well with what they need defensively against the Warriors. So, yeah, mostly Jokic. I think Jamal Murray's pretty good price tag there at 7K. Also, he's another year removed from serious injury. We could see a better year, I think, from Jamal Murray. But pretty much those three for me: Jokic, Murray, and then Aaron Gordon, where I'm mostly looking at. What do you think they're going to play Jokic and Valanciunas at all together?
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
First of all, appreciate you getting this out. I was going to say this too. I don't like the Nuggets are underdogs in this game. Like let's bet the Nuggets. I like both underdogs today. I think both underdogs are pretty good bets here. I think, in my opinion. But from the double big side, I did hear from unnamed sources that we could see that lineup throughout the year. Not like for huge stretches. It's not going to be like a Houston thing where they're playing it to where Steven Adams like needs oxygen when he comes out of a game. I don't think they're going to go that heavy into it, which, by the way, that was insane. I forgot to even bring this up. I mean, like the Rockets literally played Steven Adams to the point where Steven Adams was like visibly on the court, just like giving up wide open, layups and friggin' shots because he wasn't moving. He was so tired. It was kind of funny how they really stuck to their guns with that double big lineup to the point where they were just giving up easy buckets because Steven Adams was gassed. But we will see Valanciunas, I think, and Jokic play some together. Now, I don't know if Golden State is like the best matchup for that.
No.
I don't think it is. So I don't think they're going to do it a lot in this matchup. But I do think there's going to be matchups, DC, like the Rockets matchup, like other, double big situations where they want to give Jokic a break, maybe on the defensive end a little bit with someone who's like big and physical and stuff like that. So bring Valanciunas in, let him bang around with that guy for a little bit, give Jokic a break so he's not doing that for all like 35, 36 minutes he's on the floor. So they will do that. I don't think you're going to see it as much tonight. So
you agree?
I don't love like those guys together, but I mean, we've seen Valanciunas, like we've seen him in 15, minutes, 18 minutes, put up big fantasy scores before. And this is a 2-game slate. So I'm not saying to roster them together, but that would be a way to get unique. And on 2-game slates, like you do want to think about ways to get unique. That would be one way. But yeah, to answer your question, DC, you will see it this year be employed. I don't know how well it's going to work. I don't think the Nuggets really know how well it's going to work, but I do think it's going to play a decent amount this year.
Yeah, and Jokic can obviously play with anybody, right? He can kind of play outside and facilitate. Obviously, can go inside and score as well. So yeah, you'll see it. But OKC does play pretty small in general, so maybe not tonight as much.
Yeah, Golden State is just one of those teams. Like you got to get out on the perimeter. I think it's a tough spot. Jonathan Kuminga is very athletic, so it's probably not the right spot. But in terms of that next tier, the Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, how would you like rank that tier, DC?
I think I would put Johnson up first. We'll see what he has. I do think he's a smart player who will pair well with Jokic, right? That's kind of the big question with the Nuggets is how can you play with Jokic, who's obviously the whole centerpiece of their offense. So I think Cam Johnson there, but again, I think I'm mostly going to end up off the tertiary pieces for the Nuggets. So I don't know how much Johnson I'll end up with, but yeah, he would be the guy behind Aaron Gordon. So yeah, like I said, those three guys for the Nuggets where I'm looking: Jokic, Jamal Murray, and then Aaron Gordon is my preference between the third, fourth, fifth Nuggets options.
Yeah, I would actually go Christian Brown as my first here. All these guys are, in my opinion, all these guys, we already know that Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Jamal, we already know those guys play well with Jokic. It's not, Bruce Brown, we already saw it for a year. Bruce Brown looked amazing that 1 year with Denver. It's because if you're just doing the right things on the basketball court while Jokic has the ball and you just move to the right spot, Jokic is going to find you and you're going to have an open look. That's just the case. And I think all these guys are very smart basketball players. The guys they picked up, they're not guys that need the ball in their hands, which is huge because they don't need those guys. They don't need the MPJs that want to be the 30-point scorer a night, that want more. They want the guys that are going to play their role and execute it to perfection and are always in the right spot, and because they know Jokic is going to get them the ball. If he doesn't have an easy look, he's going to find someone for an open shot. So the guys they got are like perfect. Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, we saw him in Detroit. He had big games with Detroit, and now he's going to get more open looks than he's ever seen in his life, DC, with Jokic. Bruce Brown, we already know he's going to get wide open looks with Jokic. And then Cam Johnson, same thing. Cam Johnson's played on a lot of bad teams. He's going to finally play on a really good team with a guy who attracts so much defensively. And then Jamal Murray's the other guy. He's going to be like the third or fourth guy on the court. So like he has to get open looks. It's just the way it goes. And corner threes, like they're going to be open for someone like him. But I think Christian Brown's the one who his game is like there's still a little more that he can scratch to the surface of his upside with his game. And I think he's slowly doing it. I think I saw a lot of good improvements in the preseason. I think he's going to build on it more. He got that big contract with Denver. Well, for him, it's a great contract for Denver, in my opinion, but he fits very well with Jokic. And I think I'd rank him 1. I think I'd go him 1, and then probably Aaron Gordon 2, Cam Johnson 3. But I definitely have him first. I think the other two are pretty close if you want to move them around a little bit. And then the bench unit for me, I don't have like super strong takes with like Tim Hardaway, Bruce Brown, Peyton Watson. I think they're all going to do a little bit, which might not be great for fantasy. So like if we get the OKC news, I probably won't need these type of guys. But if both OKC guys are in, I think these guys are a little more in play. I think Bruce Brown's, who kind of sets up well, in my opinion, for this matchup, would be more in play here. So I like Bruce Brown, I guess, if I had to pick one guy in this range. But yeah, you can pull a player out. I'm not going to do it, DC, where I play a bunch of these cheapies for Denver. It would be like one.
I think so too. I do think you'll see pretty heavy rotation between the Denver, between the Browns, Watsons, Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, Hardaway. I think Strother is going to be in the rotation as well. So that's 10 guys. Murray and then Valanciunas will be in there too. So Murray, Jokic, Aaron Gordon going to get their minutes. I think it could be kind of nightly situational dependent on the rest of the Denver guys. So obviously it probably depends on the OKC news, but I think maybe on this slate, these guys don't look as good to me as the OKC value, at least.
Don't be shocked now. You're going to see OKC rest guys more. Like even their like guys like Casey Wallace and Lou Dort, they've already won a chip. You know what I mean? They're playing for another chip. They know they don't need to run their full team every night in the regular season NBA to get dubs. And again, it's a team that's kind of fully stacked. Well, Denver, in my opinion, is very similar in that aspect where it's like, I don't think like, I think Denver is going to rest guys even more this year because they're another team. They're playing for a championship. They know that the Jokic window is limited for whatever reason. It's definitely limited. And that's why they went out and had a big offseason. They knew they had to make moves to make sure they maximize the Jokic years. And I think you're going to see DC. I think you might see him rest a little bit more than normal. I think you're going to see on a nightly basis some of these guys like Aaron Gordon, night off, right? He was banged up last year. They need him for a deep playoff run. And that's going to open up the times to play Cam Johnson to play. But it's a 2-game slate, so people still need like some plays from these games. But you're right. Once we get into like the daily grind of regular season, you're going to see games where, Bruce Brown's it's going to open up 25 minutes for Bruce Brown. You know what I mean? Or Tim Hardaway Jr. gets a shot, to start or something like that. So that's when we're going to be able to play these guys. Here. I think I'm limited to Denver, but if you move to Golden State, which is the last team here to kind of break down, I think they're the easiest breakdown of the slate, in my opinion. They played 11 guys, so I would expect the majority of those guys you see in that projection window right there to get run, to play probably double-digit minutes. And, they did a better job with some of the pricing on some of these guys. They brought them down. Like, I'm pretty sure Pods came down 600. Buddy Hield, thank God, came down some. He still feels overpriced, but at least they got him down a little. Gary Payton, I think, moved up a little. And then, you got the rest of the guys. Draymond kind of moved up a tad. Jonathan Kuminga's right around there. Jimmy dropped a little. But they did a better job because Golden State's just a team, on a full slate. They're going to be tough, fully healthy to play guys with how many guys Steve Kerr wants to play, the age of these guys. Another team that they just want to get into the dance, DC. They just want to get there. And if they get there, they're like, hey, we got Steph, we got Jimmy, we got a shot. That's probably how they kind of look at it. So they're not a team that I want to be like overly focused on. I think it's clear, though, the best play is Jonathan Kuminga at the price tag. He's the guy that has the ultimate upside. You're going to get low 30s minutes from him. And, they need him. I think they need him out there to produce. Their center spot, like Al Horford, can only play so many minutes. The only thing I will say is it wouldn't shock me if they needed to go bigger with Al Horford in the starting lineup. So I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if they should do that, honestly, but it just wouldn't shock. I wouldn't be shocked if we get the alert like Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench and Al Horford in the starting lineup. That might affect things for Kuminga. I might at that point pivot to Draymond, but I'm not playing Pods probably in this spot. I don't mind Jimmy. If I land on Jimmy, I don't mind Jimmy here, but I'm probably not spending up for Steph. I want SGA or Jokic, for sure. So I'm probably not going to get there with Steph. And then I don't like the, as many of the cheap guys like Pods and Buddy and Gary Payton and Quentin Post. But, if you landed on a Gary Payton, I guess it's not the worst thing. You at least know he's going to play. So you see anything I'm not seeing here?
No, similar thoughts. I really haven't played much Steph Curry over the last couple years. To me, he's just overpriced, I think, on a nightly basis, including tonight at 9K. I kind of think especially playing with Butler, Draymond, Kuminga, Podziemski, all these guys very involved in the offense. And you just don't see Steph doesn't have the, assists and rebounds upside anymore, especially at his age. And, the explosiveness has kind of gone. Obviously, occasionally he's going to get hot and make 7 or 8 threes, but you need that. I actually looked at which studs kind of, overperform their price the most last year. Steph was very, very low on that list. I kind of think his name value still carries his ownership and price a little bit too much more. And, we talked about being high on guys who maybe improved in the offseason. Wembanyama being one of them who come out and they're better. They improve their skills. Father Time's undefeated, and Steph's not getting any younger. So I think we'll see him kind of continue to fall off a little bit. Obviously, still a great player, but to me, the least appealing of the kind of true studs on this slate. So I'm off Steph for the most part. Butler, I think, is fine at 7,400. Looked pretty good. Draymond, again, looked good. I think those guys are fine. But I'm with you on Kuminga. It kind of seems, and listen, Steve Kerr can pull the rug out on Kuminga at any time. Wouldn't shock either of us whatsoever. But to me, JSU, Kuminga's the guy. To some extent, he's kind of the future of this team. Super, super talented guy. Feels like he's spent half his Golden State career in Steve Kerr's doghouse, right? He's been in and out of the starting lineup, randomly benched at times. But it does seem like the narrative has changed a little bit with Kuminga. Got a pretty good contract in the offseason. If you watch the Jimmy Butler post-game interview, it looks like maybe Kuminga's, I don't know, got his head on a little bit straight, was working with Butler in the offseason. Butler was talking him up. And I think they need Kuminga. So I think a low floor for Kuminga, just given the shenanigans that Steve Kerr can pull off. But he's the one that I think can really outperform his price point today if things go right at 5,800. And, given how many wings and, just kind of in and out of the lineup with Denver, we talked about all those guys, Braun, just all the wing, Bruce Brown, all the guys that Denver has. I think Kuminga can guard multiple positions. He's the one that I think has the best chance to go, 40 plus at 5,800 and be a must play. So Sabre does have him as the best value on this Golden State team, sorting by value here. I agree with that. Kuminga's the guy that I'm most focused on with Golden State. And, he's another one. If he's playing well, I like these guys in DFS, JSU. I think people avoid minutes volatility because sometimes the projection doesn't look as good, right? Because you can't project them for a massive amount of minutes. But the guys who can get more minutes if things are going well, those can be the tournament winners for you. So I'm with you on Kuminga. He is my favorite play by a decent margin on the Warriors tonight.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about with Kuminga is Al Horford. That's the only thing. I worry about the size of Denver and them, because they're not taking Draymond out. So unless they play Kuminga at like the 3 or something like that, which I don't think they will do. But maybe. I mean, Denver's got a lot of size. I mean,
it wouldn't shock me to see Kuminga play multiple positions tonight.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't shock me. I guess you got to do what you do. I mean, especially if Denver rolls out that double big lineup. I mean, what are they going to do with that on the offensive end? Defense, different story for Denver. What are they going to do? But
sure,
on when Denver's on offense, like how are they going to stop the high-low action? Like they're not going to be able to probably. So that's just something to kind of look at, I guess. All right, DC, let's do this here. So before we get out of here, we're going to do plays of the day, and we're going to do our anti-play of the day, which is a high-owned play, so one of the higher-owned guys on the slate that you are going to be, fading or very low on tonight, that the field is high on. And then, play of the day, just your overall favorite play, and then someone below 20% that you are going to be very heavy on. So that's what we'll do for plays of the day. Before we get to that, guys, don't forget, hit the like button on the video. Join us at runpuresports.com. We have a single sport NBA package. If you're just looking for NBA, you can get just NBA. If you want all sports, though, like we said earlier, Run Pure Premium package is for you. Gets you everything. We added a late slate builder as well. So if you're into playing the late slates, Big T has a sheet up for each slate on the weekdays, for focusing on the DraftKings late slate, because DraftKings got some nice prize pools for those late slates, and they do a good job throughout the year. So that's just another thing we added. So check that out, and check out the full package at Run Pure Sports. And don't forget to hit the like button on this video here. We do have more shows throughout the day. Me and Big T will be back at 3 p.m. Eastern time to break down the showdown slate for NFL tonight. And then JBC, Wiley, Bryce, the crew will be on for the members at 7 p.m. Eastern time for a close to lock football show for showdown. So make sure you check those shows out. All right, DC, let's start off with let's do the anti-play first. Let's do our anti-play. So someone that's going, one of the higher owned players that you are going to be low on this slate.
Yeah, give me a full fade on Steph Curry at 9K. It looks like around 30% ownership for him. So not the highest on a 2-game slate, but he's the one that I just feel comfortable fading at that price point. To me, priced up too close to guys like Jokic and SGA. And then, I'll take a Siakam over Steph Curry too. So he's the guy that I'll be full fading. No Steph Curry for me on this slate.
Yeah, it's funny because we also have two of the higher owned guys as Lou Dort and Cason Wallace, which obviously will change ownership in general if we get like one of those guys out. But right now, just looking at some of the higher owned guys, you gave out Steph Curry. My heart is telling me to give out Jonathan Kuminga, even though I like him the most in my head as a play because I think he has the most upside at the price tag. I do think Al Horford could hurt him, but I think I'll go another route here. I'll give another Golden State guy. Brandon Podziemski at 31% is kind of shocking. I did not think he'd be 31%, but give me a full fade on Pods here at 31%. So we got the backcourt fade on Golden State going for tonight here on this 2-game slate. Definitely the team I think both of us are lowest on is Golden State. And honestly, when you look at the highest owned guys, at least early in the day, DC, Jimmy Butler's up here, Jonathan Kuminga's up there, Brandon Podziemski's up there, Steph Curry, Draymond Green's just a little lower. So, Golden State is interesting because those guys are still going to get ownership, even though I think a lot of people will agree on the surface they're probably one of the worst teams to target on the slate. I think they're just like with the price and their name value and stuff, they're going to get the ownership. So that'll be interesting on this slate to see how the ownership adjusts, especially if we get one of these other guys ruled out. Does Steph Curry get a bump because we get more value, even cheaper value? Does Jimmy get a bump? Some of these other studs. So that'll be interesting to watch. But all right, let's do plays of the day. So DC, your favorite overall play. It can be anybody on the slate. And then let's do your favorite play under 20%.
Favorite play, I'm going to go with Andrew Nembhard, who I think is going to run the show for the most part for Indiana. 6,400 is a little pricey for him, but I do think it'll help hold his ownership at least a little bit in check. He's still going to get ownership for sure, but I think Nembhard in for a big game against especially depleted defensive OKC team. Really like Nembhard, and then maybe a little bit of I'll give 2 for low-owned plays. I'm just going to play Ajay Mitchell.
He's not going to be low-owned, so I don't think anyways.
But he was so good in the preseason, looked awesome in game 1. He's 3,800. He's going to be in my lineup, so I'll give him out. But a true lower-owned play, Aaron Gordon, my second favorite play after Jokic on the Nuggets. I do think he's going to be a key cog. I think he's going to be healthier than last season and more productive fantasy-wise as well. So Aaron Gordon, like a ton in that mid-range at, what do we got, 16, 17% owned. That's pretty low owned for a 2-game slate. Muted, JSU.
My bad. I like that pull for low ownership on Aaron Gordon. Definitely can get there. All right, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the Stone Min 3K guy who I don't think is gonna get ownership on a 2-game slate. And I love stuff. I love when I can like get a 3K guy to just plug in when I know there's great studs on the slate.
I got him highlighted already. Am I right?
Let me see. Yep. Yeah, you're right. Jarris Walker for the Pacers at 3K Stone Min. The minutes I'm not sure of, but I know Rick Carlisle, and he's going to give these guys a chance here. And Jarris Walker plays good defense, and we've seen big games from him. We've seen him kind of explode off the bench a few times last year. So he is someone that has upside, and he's 3K. So like, as long as I get some minutes, which I fully believe I will, and if I think could happen, which is the Pacers fully go small at some point in this game, and really just try and run, because OKC, even though most teams don't run as much on OKC, with the fact that they've been to double overtime game last game, and they're down so many bodies and potentially more, I could see the Pacers just really trying to push and push. It does suck that like TJ McConnell's out, because he's someone that always is trying to push it, but I'm sure they've been working with, Nemhard and Matherin, and like just get the ball and go. Yep. So I like him. He's someone that I'm going to play a good amount of at 3K. So, all right, there's the low owned plays there. And don't forget, obviously, you got to keep in mind, like, these injuries are going to play a major factor for the first game. Luckily, we will get the in and out guys for OKC, so we'll know. But it's really important that you guys, if are in a Discord, our Discord is awesome. If you guys want to check it out, runpuresports.com, any package you want, sign up. You get a link. You can link your account to the Discord with any of the packages on the site. Get in the Discord. We at everyone with news. Whenever news drops, guys in, guys out, starting lineups, we have all that. We'll, turn your alerts on, and you'll get alerted right when, news hits. If you're, someone who's working still, or got a family, putting the kid down, eating dinner, you get that alert right to your phone. It's easy. You don't have to scour for it yourself. So we'll help you with all that. So just another reason to check out Run Pure Sports, get in the Discord as well. DC, appreciate you doing the early show with me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back at 3 p.m. Eastern on this channel with Big T. So until then, for DC, I'm JSU. Good luck in your NBA, DFS, and betting on DraftKings. We'll see you guys later. We're out. Peace.